Students, welcome to my next class of online classes. Today we will be discussing about molecular diagnostics, the new topic, very small topic, very interesting topic. In fact, in this chapter, that is molecular diagnostics. What do you mean by diagnosis? The process of the method of detection of the diseases is what is known as a diagnosis. In 8th chapter also in cancer topic we have seen the different methods of diagnosis of cancer. When we are discussing about the AIDS topic, there also I have told you diagnosis. In all diseases I have told you diagnosis, the process of or the methods of detecting diseases. Various diseases have different modes, different methods, different various ways of finding out the disease, detecting the disease. So far you also might be knowing, whenever you go to hospital, whenever you go to for checkup, either they test their blood test or urine test, either to know about enzymes or to know about hormones or to know about proteins or to know about the drugs, antibiotics or pathogens like bacteria, viruses, infections, whatever. Preferably they go for blood test or serum test, or other case, in few cases they go for urine test, or sometimes stool analysis, or sometimes sputum analysis. Sputum, the mucus from the upper respiratory system, sputum also analysis. All these comes under the methods of conventional methods, old methods, traditional methods, conventional techniques. Whereas what do you mean by this? Molecular diagnostics means based on their molecules, based on the nucleic acids, based on the DNA, based on the RNA of pathogens, molecular, at the molecular level. What level? Molecular level. Based on the nucleic acids, based on the proteins present, or based on their antibodies present, based on the antigens present in the blood, right, or in the cells or in the tissues. We go for molecular diagnostic methods. The advantages of molecular diagnostic methods over the conventional or old methods is they are very accurate, moreover, and you get the results very fast. The blood test may take 1 day time or 2 days of time, or if you go for microbial analysis, the microorganism has to be grown in the media. It may take 24 to 48 hours of time. Whereas here, everything is so digital, so accurate, so perfect. Within hours of time, you will come to know which is the exact pathogen, whether it's a virus, which virus, bacteria, which pathogen, which bacteria. Very specifically, very quickly, you will come to know. Such techniques with the advent of science and biotechnology are known as molecular diagnostics. It includes PCR. You have studied this PCR in 11th chapter, in the previous chapter of biotechnology, polymerase chain reaction. The process of amplification of nucleic acids, right, by using enzyme known as Taq polymerase, Taq DNA polymerase. That is Taq refers to Thermus aquaticus, the bacteria from which this polymerase enzyme is being obtained. The complete detailed process of PCR you have studied in the previous chapter, in 11th chapter. Clear? So PCR, polymerase chain reaction, by using this technique, even if the infection is at the minute level, very acute infection, minute infection, or the disease is in the beginning stage, or if certain diseases like cancer, AIDS, asymptomatic phase is going on, but yet you have infection, symptoms are not visible, not seen, they are not clear, fine, asymptomatic conditions also, or if the pathogen is also at minute level, or very small or less quantity of the pathogen, of the particle, viral particle, pathogen, that also can be detected, which is not possible in case of conventional methods of detection like by blood testing or by serum testing or serum analysis or by urine testing. So here, even a minute level of infection also you can test. So by polymerase chain reaction, the nucleic acid of the pathogen, either it's DNA or RNA, either it's a retrovirus or a DNA virus or a bacterial DNA, whatever, the nucleic acid can be detected in a matter of 4 hours of time. You might have seen the cycle or the procedure of the PCR. It may take maximum up to hours of time, it will amplify into 1 million copies. One DNA will be amplified to 1 million copies, thereby you can detect the pathogen, specific pathogen, perfect accurate pathogen, clear. So by polymerase chain reaction, minute less quantity of pathogen are at this asymptomatic stage also, the disease is there, patients are suffering, that also can be detected. So by using polymerase chain reaction, you all know Carey-Mullis 1984 detected the polymerase enzyme and they designed the technique known as polymerase chain reaction based on the polymerase enzyme, packed DNA polymerase 1, pol 2, pol 1, pol 3, all those details you have studied. So this reaction will carry for about 4 hours and you will come to know whether it's a viral infection or which virus also you can come to know. Even by Western blotting also you can come to know. You might have we have told in the 8th chapter as far as AIDS is concerned, PCR is used, Western blotting is used. And the next topic here, the next methodology is known as ELISA. What is known as ELISA enzyme. What is ELISA? It stands for enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. What do you mean by this? Enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. Enzyme is linked here. Enzyme is nothing but a protein. Enzyme linked immunological reaction based on the antigen antibody interaction. How they combine, how antigen goes and binds to antibody. We have discussed in the 8th chapter. Enzyme linked, fine, immunosorbent reaction, assay series of reaction. So ELISA is basically a general technique. What technique? General technique to detect what? Viral infection. What infection? Viral infection. Some students will be having a confusion that ELISA is used only for AIDS testing. Of course, for AIDS testing also we use ELISA, but that's why I am stressing on this point that ELISA is a general technique to detect viral infection in case of plants, animals, and as well as in human beings. Right? So ELISA is basically what technique? General technique. A plate will come, ELISA plate will come where we have wells, right? Antigen is taken from the serum, then antibody is added. If there is a reaction between antigen and antibody that changes to lemon yellow in color, we have done many a times in case of plant infection to detect the LCV, leaf curl virus in case of tomato plants. I have done more than 200-300 times. I have done this ELISA and PCR while I was working in biotechnology laboratory as an assistant or scientist or junior scientist for about 3-4 years. I have worked. So there we have many times we have repeated this technique, ELISA. So where it turns to lemon yellow in color. So that says that there is an infection. So ELISA, you will come to know in this test, you will come to know that it's a viral infection. Which virus? You can detect by PCR or you can detect even by Western blotting also, by transferring the DNA and all those things. Western blotting, northern blotting, southern blotting. This is there, we have told you, right? So ELISA is a general technique to detect what? Viral infection. We have many viral diseases like tobacco mosaic virus, tomato mosaic virus, leaf curl virus, turnip mosaic virus, many in case of plants. And in human beings we have AIDS, fine, we have hepatitis, fine, clear. And other the diseases that are transmitted through STDs, fine, or other viral infections like coronavirus, or in case of common cold virus or influenza virus, fine. Many viral infections can be detected by this technique. It will give the result within hours. So this is what is known as molecular diagnostics. After that, we have a topic known as transgenic animals. What we have a topic known as transgenic animals. I have told you earlier the definition. The animals wherein there is a transfer of gene. Transgenic. What is this genic stands for? Gene. Which gene? Useful gene, beneficial gene, disease resistant gene, more productive gene. Fine. So such a gene, useful gene, beneficial gene, required gene, more advantageous gene is added. A transgenic gene is transferred. Or harmful gene is removed. Disease causing gene is removed. Fine. Anyhow, the genes are transferred, either addition, in most of the cases it is addition. Either addition or in few cases deletion of the harmful gene. Fine. Disease causing gene. Removal of that. So any process of transferring of genes into the host or from the host or into the organism. If you say in organism, we call it as genetically modified organisms. If you do it in plants, they are known as transgenic plants. If you do it in animals, they are referred as transgenic animals. So such animals are referred as transgenic animals. The first animal to be made by transgenic animal is mice or mouse. So far also more than 90% of the transgenic animals that exist for different research purposes, they are from the mice family, mouse family, mice family. So they are used as food also in China and Japan, Taiwan and other countries. So mice is a mammal, right? So for to understand other conditions also mice is being used. Such animals are known as transgenic animals. They will ask you which is the first cow, transgenic cow by name Rosie. What is it known as? Rosie. We will talk about that. Right? First transgenic animal. Nowadays we come across many transgenic animals like fishes also, mammals also. Many transgenic animals are there because some groups oppose the use of animals for research purpose, for medical purposes, for other purposes. So these biotechnologists have found their own transgenic animals so that they can use as they feel like, as they want it. Right? So these animals are also used, these transgenic animal applications of use of transgenic animals to study the growth and physiology, to study growth and normal growth and physiology of different animals by increasing the hormone level. So to understand how they grow, how much they grow, what are the growth factors to study growth hormone. Last chapter, GH, right? Growth hormone. So to study about the growth hormone pattern, the influence of growth hormone on human on animals, right? Growth and normal physiology, the respiratory system, the digestive system, excretory system, circulatory system, and reproductive system, nervous system. How to study, to understand the physiology of animals. Transgenic animals are put into use at a larger extent, so that by using these animals we can understand the animal system, so that by understanding the animal system we can save many animals if they are suffering from any diseases in any system, any of the system, if they have disorders in the systems, if they have diseases, if they have infections. So those can be overcome by experimenting on transgenic animals to understand the growth pattern, normal physiological functioning of the organs, normal parts, right? So to understand growth and physiology. There are also biological products to form biological products like to treat some diseases, right? Biological products like Rosie, right? What is this Rosie has? It comes from here. The first transgenic cow, which is the first transgenic cow named Rosie, it has alpha-1 lactalbumin. Alpha-lactalbumin. This is the protein. Alpha-1 lactalbumin is the protein. Fine. Found only in human milk, breast milk. Only in human beings you come across this protein, which is very much essential for the growth of infants. Alpha-1 lactalbumin. But nowadays you all see that, right? You all know that all human beings are fed by cow's milk, dairy milk. Dairy milk is not a company I am saying, the milk obtained from milk dairies, right? Many different brands we have discussed in 9th chapter studies also, dairy products. So but that lack this protein, thereby it affects the normal growth and development of human babies. So in order to get that, this gene, the gene that produces this protein in milk is taken from human beings, introduced at the embryonic level of the animals. How to introduce? At the embryonic level. During their embryonic growth, these genes are introduced. Fine. So when they introduce the first transgenic cow, which carries human gene for the production of alpha-lactalbumin, such a cow is known as Rosie. We have also discussed about human insulin, humulin, by using microorganisms like E. coli. We are producing human insulin in E. coli bacteria. Human gene is isolated from the beta cells of islets of Langerhans of pancreas that is responsible for the production of human insulin that is being introduced into E. coli bacteria. That E. coli bacteria is made to produce human insulin. So these transgenic animals, transgenic plants, genetically modified organisms are used for human benefits, right? To study about the biological products and also to cure certain diseases like emphysema. Fine. Other genetic disorders can be cured. Genetic disorders can be removed. The gene responsible for that particular genetic disorder can be removed, can be eliminated at the embryonic level, or that can be suppressed by many different methods. You have studied retroviral, then transfection also you have studied. The process of introduction of a gene into animal cells or during the embryonic level is known as transfection. You might have seen 4 different methods of introducing genes into the animals or into plants in previous chapter, 11th chapter. So here, by using that, then vaccine testing, this is what is going on now because of this coronavirus. Fine. Diseases, COVID, fine. Infectious diseases, COVID-19 or corona infection. Vaccines are being put to use. These vaccines are tested on mice, transgenic mice, then on transgenic rabbit hair, or on monkeys, then the higher mammals, then on other animals. Then it will be standardized and then it will be used on human beings. So to study the vaccine, whether to decide the dosage, whether this dose is enough or not. If this is given, it will be too much. Instead of immunizing, it may cause the disease itself. So to decide the dosage, the time duration, all those experiments will be done by using transgenic animals. And also one more is known as chemical testing. Many chemicals, fine, before they are put into market, or if they are used in food products or in some soft drinks or beverages or into food products or into fast foods, these chemicals before they add as a flavoring agent, as a coloring agent, as a taste enhancers, or to increase the calories level, many chemicals are added to food products. Before that, it is known as chemical testing. These chemicals are tested on transgenic animals. It is also known as safety testing because here these toxic chemicals are tested. Safety testing or chemical testing. All these harmful chemicals, either they are harmful to human beings, what level they will be harmful, to whether they initiate mutations, they cause so many problems, mutagens, fine, then mutagens to carcinogens, they should not cause cancers, they should not cause mutations. All these studies will be done on transgenic animals, later vaccines, later antibiotics, medicines, drugs also refers to medicines here, drugs, chemicals, food products are first tested on transgenic animals, later they will be applied to human beings. I hope it's clear. The use of transgenic animals. Do watch this class repeatedly. Do take very good care of yourself. Keep studying. God bless you. Good luck. Take care.
ये जगह साधना का प्रमुख केंद्र रही है। यहाँ बड़े से बड़ा ज्ञानी, तपस्वी, ऋषि मुनियों ने साधना की है। वर्तमान में ये कुंड एक टूरिस्ट और रिसर्च का केंद्र बन गया है। आइए सबसे पहले इसके रहस्य के बारे में बात करते हैं। सबसे बड़ा रहस्य ये है कि आज तक कोई भी इसकी गहराई नाप नहीं सका। बड़े से बड़े वैज्ञानिक और गोताखोर इसकी गहराई नापने में असफल रहे। जब इस रहस्य में जल कुंड की खबर विदेशी चैनलों को मिली तो डिस्कवरी चैनल की टीम इंडिया आ पहुंची। टीम अपने साथ कई गोताखोरों को लाई थी। उन्होंने कई बार डुबकी लगाई लेकिन कुछ हाथ न लगा। वो इसके रहस्य और गहराई का सही आकलन लगाने में असफल रहे। उन्हें कोई सबूत नहीं मिला। रहस्य नंबर 2। कई बार ऐसा होता है कि नदी और तालाब में नहाए गए लोग डूब जाते हैं। इसके बाद मृत शरीर पानी में तैरते हुए ऊपर आ जाता है, लेकिन भीमकुंड में ऐसा नहीं है। ये इतना विचित्र है कि अगर कोई इसके पानी में डूब जाए तो उसका मृत शरीर कभी ऊपर नहीं आता। वो अदृश्य हो जाता है या कहीं गुम हो जाता है। रहस्य नंबर 3। जैसा कि हमने पहले भी बताया कि यह कुंड अपने आप में कई रहस्य की खदान है। किसी भी बड़ी प्राकृतिक आपदा या अनहोनी होने का संकेत इस जल कुंड में आसानी से देखा जा सकता है। बताते हैं कि उस कुंड का जल स्तर अचानक से बढ़ने लगता है। वहीं यह भी कहा जाता है कि भूकंप या सुनामी आने के संकेत इसमें साफ साफ देखे गए। सुनामी के दौरान इस कुंड का पानी 500 फीट तक ऊपर उठ गया था। यहां के स्थानीय नागरिकों का कहना है कि उन्हें किसी आपदा का पता पहले ही लग जाता है। रहस्य नंबर 4। कहा जाता है ना कि जो जहां रहता है उसे उस जगह के बारे में ज्यादा जानकारी होती है। इसी के चलते हुए भीमकुंड के आसपास के इलाकों में रहने वाले लोगों का कहना है कि रहस्यमयी भीमकुंड का पानी कभी कम नहीं होता। भरपूर मात्रा में पानी का इस्तेमाल होने के बावजूद कुंड में पानी का लेवल कभी नहीं घटता। कई बार खोज भी की गई, लेकिन इसके पानी का पता नहीं चला। कोई नहीं जानता इस कुंड की गहराई। कहते हैं कि इसकी गहराई का पता लगाने के लिए समय समय पर गोताखोरों को यहां भेजा जाता है, लेकिन कुछ हासिल नहीं होता। जब गोताखोर ऐसा करके थक गए तो प्रशासन ने भीमकुंड के पानी को पंप की मदद से पानी को खाली करने की योजना बनाई। यह काम कई दिनों तक जारी रहा, लेकिन कुंड के पानी के स्तर में कोई कमी नहीं आई। काफी खोज के बाद इसके तल का किसी को पता नहीं चला। हालांकि 80 फीट गहराई में पहुंचने पर गोताखोरों को 23 जल की धाराएं मिली, जिनका लिंक शायद समुद्र से जुड़ा है। आपको बता दें कि इसके गर्त में 2 कुंड है, जिसके एक से पानी निकलता है और दूसरे में भरता है। शायद इसी वजह से कुंड में पानी का बहाव तेज रहता है, कभी कम नहीं होता। पौराणिक कथाओं के अनुसार भीमकुंड की एक कहानी महाभारत से भी जुड़ी हुई है। कहते हैं कि कौरवों से हारने के बाद पांडव अज्ञातवास के लिए निकल पड़े और जंगल के रास्ते से गुजरते हुए द्रौपदी को प्यास लगी। 5 भाइयों ने मिलकर पानी की खोज की, लेकिन भला जंगल में पानी कहां से मिलता। लंबी दूरी तय करने पर द्रौपदी को और तेजी से प्यास लगने लगी। प्यास के मारे द्रौपदी समेत सभी पांडवों का बुरा हाल हो गया। काफी मशक्कत के बाद जब कोई उपाय नहीं सूझा तो भीम ने घूंसे में गदा उठाकर जमीन पर जोर से दे मारा, जिससे जमीन की सतह से पानी निकल पड़ा। द्रौपदी समेत 5 पांडवों ने अपनी प्यास बुझाई। बस तभी से इसका नाम भीमकुंड पड़ गया। भीमकुंड का पानी इतना साफ सुथरा है, जब सूरज की किरणें यहां पर पड़ती हैं, तब इसका पानी अपने अनोखे रूप में दिखाई देता है। पानी में रंगों के कई रूप देखने को मिलते हैं। भीमकुंड का पानी इतना साफ सुथरा पारदर्शी है कि काफी गहराई तक चीज आसानी से देखी जाती है। इसके पानी की तुलना मिनरल वाटर से की जाती है। तो दोस्तों, यही वजह है कि भीमकुंड अपने आप में अद्भुत है, जो अपने भीतर कई रहस्य समाये हुए हैं कि आज तक वैज्ञानिक भी इसका रहस्य नहीं पता लगा पाए। दोस्तों, आपको इन रहस्यों के बारे में जानने के बाद आए विचार हमारे साथ कमेंट में जरूर शेयर करें और शेयर करके इन रहस्यों को अपने दोस्तों तक भी पहुंचाएं। धन्यवाद।